So coming back to your work in the lab, when you work in the lab, what you do is basically you are responsible for the creation of knowledge for the sake of knowledge. Selling doesn't come into equation here, right? Because it's usually publicly funded and you get your salary, but that salary comes from the institution. You're not responsible for producing something applicable. Now, business begins once the selling actually comes into equation, because there is no business unless somebody buys something from someone, unless there is a product or a service or something that for which people are ready to pay money. And this is where business begins. And so if we think about this sales journey, or generally what happens within a business transaction, so you have a customer and a customer needs something. Maybe they need a particular chemical, maybe they need a service. Let's say they want a rating service, or they want to solve a crystal structure. That's a service. And so they begin looking for somebody who could provide them this product or service. And this is where on this journey from the customer realizing, okay, I need something, to the point when the customer buys something, this is where sales and marketing are working to ensure, to kind of push the customer a little bit, to encourage the customer and convince them that you should buy our product. You should buy from our company and not from someone else, because we are better. And so there is the job of sales and marketing. It often is overlapping, but actually these are different departments. And here is how it works. So at the beginning, when a customer realizes, okay, I have a need, I want to buy something, perhaps I need an instrument. So they begin searching, right? So they go usually, and nowadays they search online, maybe they ask other people, they have a look on social media, maybe they see a post on LinkedIn and they think, okay, well, this company has something, how about I talk to them? Or maybe they go to a conference, to an event, or they might receive a proactive promotional email. This is usually the domain for which the marketing department is responsible. So marketing department is responsible for the visibility of the company and for this first part of the customer journey when they're deciding, okay, with whom should I work? From whom should I buy? And very often what happens later is at some point the sales department takes over from marketing. And these often would be, for example, customers who already contact the company, or the customers that marketing has seen they have liked their LinkedIn post or something like that. And then a salesperson would reach out to the customer and try to arrange a meeting, try to tell them more about the product. And basically what sales do, they make sure that customer obtains more information and that customer is actually convinced that, yes, this is the company from whom I want to buy. And some of the things that sales could be doing, they could be presenting the technology, they could be demonstrating the technology, they would be negotiating contract terms and the price and all of those things, and then closing the deal when the purchase actually happens. This is the responsibility of sales. Now, this is a very general overview, and we'll get into it in more detail. So I want to focus on marketing first, because I think it's a little bit easier in terms of what they do, and also they are the first on this customer journey from the need to the purchase. So what does marketing department actually do? First of all, and I think you already know a lot of these points, so all of the promotional materials that a company produces, this could be flyers, white paper, social media, could be different videos or pictures, memes, anything, educational material for customers. This is the responsibilities of marketing. Also, marketing are the people who organize companies' visits to conferences and exhibitions. So they're kind of helping salespeople in attending those conferences, but it will be the salespeople usually who attend the conferences and the marketing who kind of organizes this whole thing. You would also be, for example, organizing internal company events, and that happens quite often, especially these days. It could be user meeting. For example, in a company where I worked before, we had an instrument, and the instrument was quite complex. And as part of our marketing strategy, we had this yearly event called user meeting, where we would invite people who already use the instrument and also people who are just interested. It was a free event, so people could come, they can look, they can have a look at the experiments, how they're done, and basically interact with the already existing customers. It's a very interesting concept, and I think it is applied more and more these days. But there are also webinars, there are different educational videos, and so on. So all of this will be the responsibility of marketing. And also email campaigns. Email campaigns is something like you go out there and you look at all the different people who you can find on the internet, and there are databases and different ways of finding it. And then you would write cold emails, and those cold emails would then go to a whole bunch of people who you think might be your potential customers. And it will be the responsibility of the marketing department to create those cold emails. Now, these are just some of their responsibilities, but not all. So what kind of roles actually exist in marketing? So what are the jobs? So here are the keywords that you can look for. And I will break it down a little bit in the following slides. So generally, what jobs in marketing, they could be called social media coordinator, which is a very popular job these days. And it's more of it's a job that you will find more often in bigger companies, because in smaller companies, all of those marketing responsibilities are very often given to one person, whereas in a large company where they need a lot of social media presence, or maybe they have more products, they might have a person who is specifically responsible for social media, which is Twitter, LinkedIn, I don't know if they're on Facebook, YouTube, and so on. It could be called projects coordinator. I'm just putting it out there because this is a name that sometimes is a name of is a name of a marketing position, but project coordinator is not necessarily in marketing. It's just something you might meet. So marketing coordinator, most often you would see this as the title of the job. Could be called marketing specialist, or could be specifically event marketing coordinator or event marketing specialist. Sometimes it is also called community manager. And this is also a specialized marketing role, as opposed to generally a marketing specialist, where you would be responsible only for organizing events. And this will most likely be internal events, as for example, the user meeting that I mentioned, and also organizing companies' visits to external events, to conferences. So you would be working together with salespeople, helping them prepare to attend different conferences. Now, these are all kind of very generic roles in marketing, and I think they're quite simple to understand. So I want to touch upon just two more different jobs, because they are not often even kind of discussed when we talk about marketing, and people often don't think about them. So I just want to make you aware of two jobs that you can also have a look at, which can be very nice marketing job opportunities in biotech. So this job is called product marketing manager. And this is the kind of job that you will most often meet in pharma or clinical stage biotech, which means that a company already has a drug substance, which is currently undergoing clinical trials. And soon this is about to be launched, or perhaps it has been launched and needs to be maintained as a medicine. And the person responsible for bringing that product to the market would be called product manager or marketing manager. And if you look at pharma and biotech, so what you will be doing, it's kind of what I've already described. You will be responsible for creating promotional materials and so on, but it will be more related to a particular drug. So what you'll be doing, first of all, bringing the product to market, you will need to understand, okay, who are our customers? And if it's a drug, the sales pipeline is of course slightly different, because you're not selling that drug. The company is not selling one package of the drugs straight out of their warehouse directly to the customer, right? They go through pharmacies, they go through this whole legislation of the country. So you will need to know this kind of framework of your country, that within which medicines are brought to market. So this is something that's very important for you to know when you apply for those jobs. And you might want to do a little bit of reading about the regulations and how the clinical trials conducted. So you will need to know a little bit more about medicine. And then also how you promote that product in pharma and clinical stage biotech is a little different than in the classical marketing, because who you'll be working with, you'll be working with sales who are called medical science liaison. And these are the salespeople that go out there. And I have a slide for this later on. These are the people who go out there, they talk to doctors, they visit hospitals, and then they make these medical organizations aware of the drug that your company is selling. And this is the sales process. So you will be kind of upstream of the sales process within the company. You would also be working with, for example, medical education agencies, because when it comes to marketing prescription drugs, especially, depending on the country's regulation, you might be limited in what you can do. For example, in Germany, you're not allowed to advertise prescription drugs at all. So you cannot just go on LinkedIn and say, hey, we have this amazing drug, you should buy it. You're not actually allowed to do that. So there is a way around it, which is working with medical education agencies. And those are the different agencies that produce educational materials for doctors. So you're kind of selling to doctors, you're not selling to the patients. And this is a slight difference between the classical marketing and this one. You would also be organizing events, although, as I said, your customers will be doctors and medical professionals, could be expertise exchange events, could be conferences, anything like that. And you will also be responsible for creating promotional materials and the conference brochures and so on and so on. Everything else that I have already described, which are the responsibilities of the typical marketing manager, except in this case, your customers will be medical professionals. So something to keep in mind, something that might be more interesting to you or perhaps less interesting to you, depending on which field you want to work in. But I just wanted to make you aware of this position because very often it's called product manager and people are unsure what it is. It's actually a marketing professional, but within a clinical stage biotechnology company or a pharma company. Okay. And the other position, which I think is even less known, is called market research analyst. And it's actually a position within marketing. And what the person who does market research actually does, and here I copied, in fact, this is part of a real job description that I found from market research analyst. And here is what you would be doing. So when you're selling, especially in a market that is populated with a lot of different companies, there are different types of consumers, and there's lots and lots of data out there on these consumers and on your competitors. So your job as a market research analyst would be even more upstream before anybody creates any kind of promotional materials, before you even begin to think about, okay, what's our strategy to promote this? What you need to do, you need to understand the market, meaning you need to understand who is my consumer, who is my customer, potential customer, who is my competitor, where do I place myself on the market? And by I mean, where do we as a company place ourselves on the market? And you need to do all kinds of research around it. So you could, for example, design surveys and you can post them somewhere, or you can find a group of your prospective customers and you can invite them personally to participate in the survey, and you can ask them questions like, what is important for you when you do this and this, or which products do you currently use, and so on. So you try to understand what the customers are actually needing, what they're using, and therefore how, based on this information, can we position our company as compared to the other ones on the market. You will also be working with lots and lots of data, because the data, not only from the survey, this could be data from market reports. There are agencies who actually create market reports, and you can also work for those agencies. There's lots of data out there that you can simply scrape, for example, from social media, from Google, from all the different sources online. So your job will be to collect that data, to compile it, to analyze it, interpret, and then formulate reports and make recommendations. So, okay, I think that we have a winning angle as compared to that company because this and this and this. So you'll be effectively providing this competitive analysis on the different offerings of this company. You'll be looking at market trends. You would also be participating in deciding on how much should we charge for this product and what should be our business model. For example, if it's a software in in the science field. Should we sell this software as a one-off, or should we make a subscription? Should we offer some additional services because our competitors are offering those services when they sell their devices, or should we sell the device and then charge for the service on top of that, and so on and so on. So all of this kind of research and analysis and making conclusions, this is what you'll be doing as a market research analyst. So you're kind of a scientist, really, in this case. You're kind of a scientist, but within the business environment. And the data that you'll be analyzing won't be the data that comes from your experiments on the bench. It will be the data that you acquire somewhere else. But perhaps in terms of the type of activities that you will be performing, it is the closest. So just think about this, because it might be a very interesting position for those of you who like the research aspect of your current studies or of your current work, but you might want to do this research within a business field. So this could be your opportunity. So career progression in marketing is relatively straightforward. So you would begin at an entry level. You'd be something like a marketing specialist, science communicator. Interestingly, more and more often, I actually see jobs called science communicator within companies, which basically means you're a marketing professional. You can progress later. So sometimes this product manager is not exactly an entry-level role, but it can be an entry-level role. But let's say it's one level above, then you can be something like a brand manager, advertising manager, public relations. Means that you will simply have more responsibilities, and you'll be responsible, for example, in this case, when you're a brand manager, you'll be responsible for the whole brand rather than just producing materials and taking orders from someone. So you'll have more and more responsibilities. You will grow to a position, perhaps director or advertising and sales director, brand director, and so on. And then there is the classical vice president, senior vice president, and the very, very top of that is usually chief marketing officer, or sometimes called CMO. And this is, I think, literally the top position in sales and marketing that you can reach, after which you will be reporting directly to the CEO. So what skills will you need? I have been talking about all of the different things that you'll be doing. So what do you need to apply for marketing roles? And also, what kind of personality would fit marketing roles the best? So let's talk about the skills first. First of all, writing. Writing will be most likely a requirement for literally almost any marketing jobs that you see out there, because in one way or another, you will be writing something. You'll be writing reports, or perhaps you'll be writing this promotional materials, flyers, and so on. Now, it is optional, but I think it's a big, big plus if you have a little bit of experience or understanding of how to make videos and how to create visual materials, meaning PowerPoint, Photoshop, Illustrator, and all of that type of software. Not necessary, but I think it's a great plus. Now, data analytics and website management, something that you would probably especially need for the market research role, but generally data analytics is becoming more and more important, because most of the companies by now, they employ trackers, meaning that they can see how many people visited their website, they can see how many people clicked on the link. They also see very often geographic distribution. Often they see where those people came from onto the website. Did they come from LinkedIn? Did they come from Twitter? And so on. So all of this huge pile of data is something that you would also be analyzing when you're in marketing, because your job will be to also understand your customer, because prior to creating an efficient marketing strategy or marketing material, you need to understand whom am I marketing to. So data analytics, and this is something that is a directly transferable skill from what you're basically doing in academia and your research. Website management, I actually think it's optional, but it's good to know. So something like, for example, WordPress, or if you can just make a basic website, or if you just understand how websites work, that's great. Also, communications in terms of interpersonal skills. So think about it. You'll be working with a lot of different kinds of people. You'll be working for sure with sales, but you will also be working with different other departments to understand what are they doing and how do I communicate this to the customer. For example, you might be working a lot with scientists in the R&D or with customer-facing scientists, so that you know what are they doing, what's new, what kind of science are they working on, how can I communicate it to our potential customers so that it is the most engaging, how do I convince the customer that what my scientists are doing in the R&D is actually amazing. So that would be your job. And for that, it's very important that you can get along with different people, and it's something to keep in mind. So you might not be doing as much direct communication with the customer as sales, but you will be working with a lot of different types of people. Now, of course, attention to detail, time management, because there will be a lot of different projects, knowledge of social media, important nowadays, and also understanding something called SEO, which is search engine optimization, which is basically how to pack your text or whatever material you're putting on your website with all the necessary keywords so that Google will pick them up, so that if the customer searches for a product that we offer, we come up on top. Now, SEO is something that you can read about, or there are courses out there. So this, I would say this, and perhaps a little bit about website management and data analytics are the most important things that you might want to improve before you apply for marketing jobs. But in general, this is the list of skills. So now you might be thinking, okay, is this for you? Is this for me? Is this not for me? So I would say, kind of a rule of thumb, I think people who would enjoy working in marketing are the people who generally like writing, like communications, but especially the written type of communications, or perhaps creating visual materials on top and so on. It is also, as compared to sales, it is a kind of more introspective, more creative type of work. And therefore, it is more suitable for people who maybe are not so excited about talking to 1,000 people per day who you don't know, but rather like to be on the creative side. Now, you do need to get along well with different people. That's a must, as I said. And if you find it easy in the day-to-day life, then I think you'll be good. Also, planning, organization, and data analysis. If this is something you like, then marketing might be a job for you. Also, as compared to sales, marketing would have a more stable salary. You would have less pressure, and you would have a more defined, excuse me, that's a typo, a more defined set of responsibilities. Okay, so that's just kind of my personal rule of thumb. If you are deciding,